Hello, Kegligate Gaming here, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of No Man's Sky. I know I've been doing a lot of Dead by Daylight, but this game I've been super psyched for. I've got about, I'd say about 15 hours put into it by now, and there's been a lot of reviews, a lot of hate, a lot of good things, and I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring to talk about it and maybe do a little bit of a Let's Play series because I am loving it. So, as for the reviews and whether or not you're going to like the game, it's so hard to explain because I don't want to always side with critics because usually critics are just, kind of asses. You can see that with the World of Warcraft movie, or excuse me, just Warcraft. Even Suicide Squad I thought was a good movie. It was watchable, and they crucified those movies in the ratings. And I'm seeing the same thing happen for No Man's Sky. People are saying, well, the game is just the same thing over and over and over again. You collect stuff to craft stuff to fly to the center of the galaxy, to upgrade your ships, to upgrade your multi-tool. And it's just the same thing over and over again. And I don't think that's a good enough reason to put a low score on the game. There are, of course, plenty of games out there that have no objective other than to survive. You make your own fun, you make your own goals, you make your own missions. And that's what No Man's Sky is all about. It's all about exploring and making your own goals and your own wants. You want to know every single alien language, then you better get out there and start exploring alien languages and finding monoliths and different things for that. So to just say, well, at its core gameplay, it's just the same thing over and over is possibly the dumbest thing you can say, because that's every game. When you break it down to its core gameplay, you're just repetitively doing the same thing over and over in different environments, just like No Man's Sky. I'll give some examples. Call of Duty. Core gameplay when you're playing the campaign mode is you're shooting people with guns. And it tends to be pretty much the same gun throughout the campaigns. And guess what? It's the same people you're shooting over and over and over again in different areas. So how come Call of Duty gets 100 out of 100 and No Man's Sky is left to rot? That doesn't make sense to me. Now, I'm not going to say it's a perfect game. There are very few games out there that I would ever consider perfect. One of the ones recently that I've considered to be probably one of the most perfect and excellent games made has been Ori and the Blind Forest, and that was an amazing game. It was short. There wasn't a whole lot of gameplay to it. It was a Castlevania style, more Metroidvania, I guess is now what they're calling the games. Game about 10 hours worth of gameplay if you took your time, and you did the same thing over and over. You platformed, but it had amazing music, amazing areas, amazing challenges, an amazing story, and the graphics blew me away. But in its core gameplay, it was the same thing over and over again. Jump from platform A to jump to platform B to get to see the next story, to get the next carrot on a stick. So I really think all the reviewers are wrong. You can't hate on it for its base gameplay being repetitive, and which I'll agree. I mean, I grab a whole bunch of stuff, I fly to the next planet, grab some stuff, then I warp to the next sector to find a new planet to get the same stuff. So I don't think that's a valid point to make. Now, the next point that people are making was that they feel like they were lied to, in that, well, every planet was supposed to be different, but, you end up finding the same stuff on every planet. Every planet seems to have zinc or some iridium, which I'm mining here now, or we'll use this as an example, the Yaprami Nifakara Sea. If I kill it here, it gives me carbon, which is good. I need carbon. But people will say, well, that seems to exist on every planet, whether it be a mushroom or it be something else. In some form, that same exact thing exists, and you'll get carbon from it. It just looks a little bit different. Same thing with the iron. I'll show you some iron spikes in a bit here once I'm done mining this up. And then I'll get to the inventory management that people complain about, because this part here is something a lot of people are killing too. So they'll say, the iron looks the same on every single planet, and and we were lied to that everything was going to look completely different. Well, to that I have to say, okay, here we go. Here's the iron. So iron looks like that on quite a lot of planets. And maybe people just don't understand how the periodic table of elements work. Maybe they don't understand that everything in the world has to be made up of some sort of element. So yes, on most planets that have carbon-based life forms or carbon-based forms of anything, like these mushrooms, guess what? They're all going to be made of carbon. That's how elements work. Same thing with iron. Iron's going to tend to be a more popular and common element, and it's going to show up in similar forms, whether it be these spikes that you see on quite a few planets. You'll see something similar. They may look a little bit different, but guess what? That's how it works. So, for people who are complaining about, well, every iron or every planet has carbon on it, and sometimes it's in a mushroom, and yeah, sometimes it's in a whatever you call that tubey thing I saw over there. That's, I mean, do you not want? It's a sci-fi game, yes, but it's still grounded in principle, and that's just how it works. So to complain about it working that way seems like just a very ignorant point of view. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the stupid one here, but it seems like if all the planets are going to have carbon, the carbon looks different. You got exactly what you wanted, and you really have no basis to complain about. The next thing people complain about a whole lot is inventory management. You'll see, like, your launch thrusters, you have to put the plutonium in. You get about 4 liftoffs. You'll see me drop down 75%. About 4 liftoffs, sometimes 5, sometimes less, every time you fill it up. So that means when you're stopping and landing a lot to catalog animals, which I want to do on this planet, or you see something you want to pick up, you end up having to put new plutonium in, and your life support systems start to go down. So you have to fill that up. You have to fill up your mining beam. You have to fill up your gun if you choose to have a gun adapter, a bolt caster, I think it's called. You have to fill that up too, and people are saying, well, inventory management is really tedious to continually go back and do all those things, but again, you're asking for core gameplay of a survival game, which instead of having to eat or drink, you're having to fill up your suit. Instead of having to craft new weapons, you're having to constantly put energy in. It's the same thing. So I don't see how you can say, well, we wanted a survival, we wanted to be able to eat and drink and be able to craft new weapons and bases and all that, and at the same time say, well, it's dumb that I have to constantly fill everything up. It's really contradictory to itself and really a stupid opinion to have. And I'm sorry that I'm being so mean in this video and calling all these people out and calling them all stupid, but it is possible to have a stupid opinion. You can't be a hypocrite like that, bash the game for one thing, and then turn around and say you should add the exact same thing in a different form. It doesn't work that way, and you shouldn't mark the game down for it. Now, onto the procedural generation. It is spot on, I will say. I have not seen any planets that look the same. I've had a couple toxic planets, but some of the toxic planets still had good atmosphere that had people and creatures growing on it. Some of them had no life form, it was completely barren. So it seems like every planet I've run into, at least, has been completely different. I haven't had any of that tedium. Some people are saying, well, all the planets are the same thing over and over. I haven't had any of that, so maybe I'm just lucky. I mean, it's very possible with 4 quintillion planets. I'm sure 1 or 2 of them is bound to look somewhat the same. Come here, I want to scan you. Sometimes you have to shoot the birds out of the sky to scan them, which is a nice little tip to pass along if you're trying to get a whole planet full of species for the huge credit boost. Sometimes the birds you gotta shoot out of the sky in order to catalog them, and there can be multiple kinds of birds, so excuse me there. So if you're trying to get every animal in your short 1 or 2 species, do know that there can be birds up above you that you have not seen yet that are hurting your, say I found 5 out of 8. There may be more birds out there, and that's frustrating. We're down to just, I need to find 1 more, and it might be a bird, or if there's water on your planet, there may be underwater life, so don't be afraid to check out underwater. Other people, some other complaints I've heard that I'd like to debunk or go over. The language system. People are really, really hating on that, saying, well, I know 300 words and I still have no idea what they're saying. Which is, again, it's grounded in fantasy and sci-fi, but there's still some reality to it. And you don't even need to know all the words. I mean, you still have the ability to learn what they're saying through their gestures, and if you learn each race of people, you might know a little bit more about what they're actually saying. Now here, obviously, it's saying sacrifice, so it's really easy to know which one to do, but you can still try and learn what is going on. But yes, 300, 400 words sound like a lot, but how many words are there in the English dictionary? And how many different ways can you use those words to have different meanings? And if you only knew 300 English words, would you be able to have a good conversation in English? I doubt it, especially since you're not learning useful words. It's not like these things are always teaching us, the words that are used most commonly or anything like that. They're teaching us random words like piston, or sacrifice, or I learned herc the other day. How many times have any of you used any of those words in recent conversations? Maybe once at most. So when you're learning random words, of course you're still not going to understand everything after 300-400 words, because it's not like a classroom setting where you're learning the most prevalent words or phrases that are important or anything like that. You're simply learning random words as they come by. So I don't think it's okay to hate on the game for that either. I mean, I guess you can hate on it because it's still tedious to have to get a whole bunch of words, but that's part of the exploration. You're exploring the world to learn a whole different species, a different race, their language. So there's hundreds of different planets to land on and find these monoliths or these knowledge stones and things like that. It adds to the gameplay. So you're already saying, well, the game is too short, there's not enough to do. If you took that part out, the game would be even shorter. So again, I don't understand the complaint that you're saying there's not enough content to do, and then they have a ton of content for you to do and say, well, I don't like that content, so it doesn't count. It doesn't work that way. The only complaints I personally have that I find maybe valid, maybe not, feel free to rip mine apart since I'm ripping everyone else's apart. The Heridium structures. Let's see if I can find one. I was mining one earlier. The big, just towers that stick up out of the ground. Of course, Heridium is a made-up element. All the elements are... Well, not all the elements. I guess that would be stupid to say, but they made up their own periodic table of elements and how elements interact with that. But the Heridium towers seem to be kind of out of place on a lot of planets. You've got these desolate, very small planets with not a whole lot going on, and yet they have these giant towers for some reason sticking out of the ground full of a supposedly rare element. The silicate that's very important for science and technology. That I don't quite fully understand, but hey, it's useful to me, so I'll take it. Excuse me, I got something in my throat today. My other complaint is about the blueprint system. I've collected a ton of blueprints, and now I'm starting to get a lot of repeats, so I think it's a little bit frustrating that I'll go through all the work for an extra blueprint, and I don't know if it's actually going to help me or not, if I've already collected it. I don't know which blueprints I'm still searching for, or where I would find such blueprints, or if I need a different, race to give me that blueprint. It's a little bit hard without anything to tell me that, but I'm fine with it. I mean, it's good to get out there and explore. Of course, you want to get as many blueprints as you want, but I'd also like to know, I'm a completionist in that sense, and I want all the blueprints, so tell me what I need to do to get those last blueprints, damn it. Other than that, I haven't found a lot to complain about the game. Yes, there were some PC launch issues. I was lucky enough not to experience most of them, except for I had probably the most hilarious glitch ever, which I can't even hate on them for. My starship took off without me and blasted off into somewhere in space, and it just followed me around and mocked me because I couldn't get back in it. and I had to search a planet for about 3 hours to find a ship that was stranded so that I could pick it up and get into space again. So that was pretty hilarious. I couldn't be too mad about that, so I just left that up to, hey, glitches are part of what makes a game fun sometimes, especially day one glitches, so I laughed about it and moved on. I didn't let it ruin my experience. See, I learned the word gra. How often is gra used? Well, apparently enough. So he needs carbon or thamium. Pretty sure I have some thamium in here. Don't want to leave this guy without a weapon. Nice. Hazard protection. I'll take it. Alright, I'm starting to fill up my inventory. Probably have to do one or two more things and then leave the planet, sell all that stuff. Still got some life forms to try and discover. But that's my thoughts on the game. Overall, I mean, I've already invested 15 plus hours into it. 18 sync hours into it. I think it's a great game. Now, I have heard rumors that they are going to do some paid DLC, and there was also some talks, there never being paid DLC, that they wanted to provide content to everyone who supported the game by giving them more free content. And to that I had to say, yes, paid DLC sucks, and I'm tired of having to pay for DLC, especially when it comes out a month or two after it was clear content cut from the game. However, we're talking about a studio, a group of people who sold their house to make this game. I mean, they put everything on the line, and they're getting killed by critics, and they're losing sales over that. So if you support the game and you want more content, guess what? That's the way of the world. You're going to have to pay for it. So sitting there and whining, well, you said free content isn't going to help if they go bankrupt and can't afford to make the content, and then there's no support for the game, and then it just dies. So, yeah, 15, 20 bucks sucks here or there, but, suck it up and support the game. They've made something great here. They're getting killed in the ratings, and if they want to give us more content, obviously they need to be paid for it. How often do you just want to give people that you like free stuff just because you want to? I'm guessing not very often. You do it when you're supposed to, Christmas or birthdays and things like that. You give gifts. But do you just, once every quarter give an awesome update? Here's $20 just for being my friend every quarter for the rest of, no. You don't do things like that. So why do we expect a business which is there to make money to give us things for free? And yes, we could, they said it, so we have to hold them to their word. This is a very new studio. Yes, they made the Joe Danger games, but they've never taken on a game of this scale. And to hold them to their word for something they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, again, they had to sell their house to do this, is unfair. And let me tell you, No Man's Sky fans, a lot of you are some pretty rabid and raving individuals who are already out of line as it is, with the death threats and other bullshit that you've pulled. So I don't want to hear it from you guys. If you're one of the people who is sending out death threats because the game got delayed, which I was mad. I wanted to play the game last month, but 2 months ago, but I wasn't going to send a death threat. No one deserves that. So if you're one of those people, you don't even get an opinion. I don't care what you have to say, and I don't even want you watching this video, so please just close out and leave. Because that's totally inappropriate, uncalled for. You're not a rational human being, and I don't want to spend or waste any time talking with you. So let's just get that out of the way. And again, yes, I'm sounding like more of a jerk than I've ever been in my previous videos, but I don't care. We've all worked in customer service at some point, I assume, or have heard stories. No one deserves death threats. No one deserves to be treated like not a human being because they made a mistake. Come on, that's That's just completely ridiculous. And I'll give a little shout out to the Jimquisitions, like one of my favorite people who makes videos. Go watch his video on it. He proves the point much better than me, but down to the same basis. It is completely uncalled for and inappropriate. It doesn't matter how much you like the game or how much you support it. Death threats are never something that is an appropriate response to almost anything. So, getting off my high horse, going back to the game, I do love it. I do love playing it. I think I'm going to wrap up this video here soon, maybe by going to the space station. For people who may be watching this who haven't played the game yet, that's just what one planet looks like. I'll go to the space station so you can see that, and then I'll start my next video. We'll go to new planets and just kind of explore planets together. So, space station. Oh, that's another complaint I can point out that I did not like. The space battles feel very sloppy. I hate doing the space pirate fighting, which is a shame because I love pirates. I would love to be a space pirate, yar, and just slaughter everyone. But it feels like my ship has shit itself, and I'm trying to turn slowly in space while everyone else is doing loop-de-loops around me. And the only reason why I win any of those fights is because I usually carry 2 or 3 things of iron full on me, so I get 7 or 8 shields. So the only reason I win is just sheer time factor and unfairness. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be like a real dogfight. It should really feel, I don't know what the right word is for it, excitement, and feel like it's a fair advantage in a 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 dogfight, but I just don't get that feeling. Let's get a new word. Alright. Now, if you didn't know, I will show you one thing. It's pretty obvious, but this. Look for anything selling with the star. Obviously, it's going to make you the most money possible. And that's a point of the game. You can see I used to have about 100 or 1.5 million, but I bought that spaceship out there for the extra inventory space, so unfortunately I don't have that any longer. Let's make some warp cells since I have the stuff to do that here. Oh, I just didn't bring any carbon. I'm a moron. Huh. Good to know. Alright, I'm going to sell up some stuff. I'll finish up the video, and since I have a warp cell, I think my next video will start with me just flying to a whole nother galaxy, and we will start to explore there. So, leave some comments. Definitely would love to hear back from you guys if there's anything you want to see more of, anything you don't want to see. If you want to give some suggestions on how to make these videos interesting while we explore planets, definitely leave some notes about it. But thank you for dropping by, and we'll talk to you all later. Again, this is Kegleg Gaming, and you have a great day.